Welcome back, everybody, to Dreamhack Winter's Grand Prix for 2016. It's time for round 6, and this is where the rubber meets the road for a lot of these players. At the end of the first day, and we're going to have an elimination match coming up on stream. It's Ek0p versus Crane. Joining me on the tavern is Raven and Lorinda. They're going to be bringing you guys the next match. And I know Crane is definitely a friend of your guys, especially the connection from back then, and now he's on Complexity, playing for a chance to once again go to the Dreamhack playoffs. But both of these players are in a tough spot, 3-2. So losing means just guaranteed not really making it, because you need to go 7-2 at worst in order to go through. And then, of course, on the secondary match, we have Stan Cifka up against Super JJ. Both those guys are undefeated so far. Well, we just figure that they'll play and we can tune into them.
That'll just be a cool match to watch, right? If we need to.
But unsurprisingly, JJ is doing well yet again in a Dreamhack 5-0. Stan Cifka and Pakrovach. Now, I want to point out that once again that these guys chose to bring a non-ban strategy. That means they leave Shaman open and they bring Reno Warlock, and yet they're 5-0. Pakrovach and Stan Cifka.
Yeah,
that's so impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just on paper, it just shouldn't work, but it clearly is for them. And it also helps that both of them are very, very good Hearthstone players.
Certainly.
It's not like you just rock up with this lineup and crush Shaman and that's it. It's like you've got to be pretty good as well and understand these decks. He's moved out, players like Sixo. Nick Slay's here? I've not even seen him.
Nick Slay is doing well.
I need to go and say hello to him then. You know, Jambray as well. We saw Ness and Jambray are 4-1 now, so they've got a really good chance. You know, my teammates of actually, continuing tomorrow with a really good hope of actually getting into top 16 as well.
Yep, happening off stream is a really fun match. I'm a little sad that they didn't choose it for the featured match. It's Reynad versus Sixo. So you talk about rivals. You talk about rivals. Reynad versus RDU, Reynad versus Sixo. Earlier at the beginning of the day, Reynad almost played Chalky prior to the seeding rearrangement. I was like, oh man, it's just tackling all of his former nemesis. And of course, the players who are 3-2 still have a chance to go to next day's playoffs. We're going to be playing rounds 7 to 9 tomorrow morning, and then going into the afternoon, we have the round of 16. Then we're going to do all of top 8 on day number 3.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. The thing I love about this format is every single stage is super exciting. You know, the Swiss stage is great. We see all these players turn up and compete, and you know, every single round is like, okay, well, this player's closer, and now this player's like nearly knocked out. It's kind of great. And then we move on to top 16, where suddenly the 16 best players are getting very, very serious for those, those championship points and obviously the prize money, etc.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to me during the Swiss stages to see the differentiations between the strategies, or differences, excuse me, between the strategies that people bring. You know, if they have the lineup that features Band Shaman, very traditional, you bring Warrior, Druid, Zoo, maybe a Temple Mage. Then you have some people who think a little bit outside the box, and they bring a strategy that counters them, and they do really well. And that's the Reno Lock strategy, which leaves Shaman open. You feel like you can kill Shaman, and instead you ban Druid. I'm very surprised that it's worked out so far so well for some of these players. And I want to see more of it. If you take a look at this strategy, it's very common, what we've seen from Crane and Ek0p having almost the exact same thing. Bring a standard lineup, ban Shaman, and we'll see if it works out for either of these guys.
Yeah, definitely level 1 strategy in terms of this tournament specifically. And both of these players, Ek0p actually had a recent major win at Insomnia, the True Silver Championship, and then he got top 4 at Game Gun the other weekend. So he's been looking really good. Probably a little bit upset that this is an elimination match, which will feel very early for him. And also Crane, coming off the back of, like the past few months, is actually really blown up in popularity. People have finally realized that he's a fantastic player, and he'll be looking to put another big result on as well. So it's a shame that both these players, there's only one that's going to effectively continue on to the chance at a top 16 tomorrow.
Yeah, and Crane, 2 of his teammates are on 5-0 right now as well, so he'll be feeling the internal, not pressure, but like they'll be giving a bit of, nudge. Hey, we're 5-0. You keep up.
However much happy you are for your teammates doing well, you never want to be the one who isn't, like, ever at all.
All right, well, we're going to begin things with a very nice Warrior versus Warrior, but already some differences being seen. Nazoth Warrior versus Cthulhu Warrior. Have fun, guys. I'm going to leave it in the hands of Raven and Lorinda.
Take care, friend.
Thank you, mate. And I actually just got off a cast doing this matchup. And
I don't remember it. I don't remember any such thing happening.
Feels like a long, long time ago. But no, this is going to be slightly different. Reynad was playing Youthful Brewmaster in his Nazoth. to then get the double,
Sure.
and he doubled N'Zoth, he bounced the old god back.
Sounds like the equivalent of the Cthulhu Doomcallers.
Yeah, very similar actually. So yeah, it worked out pretty well for him. He managed to get the reverse kill versus RDU with it. But this is completely different. I imagine from these players especially, these are more than likely the most standard lists, the most optimized you can imagine. Ek0p normally brings just the best decks, and Crane is well known for not really liking a lot of tech choices. He generally thinks that you pick the most optimized list for you to win with this deck consistently. It's not, I'm not planning to try and counter this. It's like, no, they need to counter me.
Yeah, if there was such a thing as old-fashioned in Hearthstone, Crane be old-fashioned, says me.
Yeah, he's like a purist.
He's a purist, and Ek0p again not far off that same thing. Ek0p are not so scared to bring a little bit of tech, but also a very traditional player. So, going to be a slugfest here. And obviously you'd rather have the Cthulhu at this point. It's just the deck you would rather have out of the two. And the decision has been made. So Ek0p has decided he is going to rifle through his deck. Sometimes people don't decide to go until they think they're behind in this matchup.
Yeah.
But Ek0p's decided he's going to go from the start.
I think with this hand, because he has the Brand, he has the Chosen, he has the Disciple, he has options to actually just pressure Crane down a little bit with these minions. Probably would have liked to beckon a little bit earlier, or to have the War Axe equipped for this moment potentially. But yeah, I don't mind just cycling. I feel like if you draw your deck as Cthulhu Warrior, you're probably gonna win, because then you can line up the Emperor to get the triple Cthulhu off, and then you just win a lot of the time. So that's not too bad. And to the extent that Reynard was playing the N'Zoth, he got the Youthful Brewmaster off, and he still nearly didn't win. RDU drew terribly. He had Bran, Emperor, and Cthulhu, and Doomcaller, I think, in the last like 6 cards of his deck.
And he still nearly.
Yeah, and so if he'd drawn any like combination of a couple of those earlier, he probably would have won. So it's still very close. So this matchup, yeah, definitely leans towards the Cthulhu favor here.
Early Barn's going to be the Acolyte, and now we just got a chance to just clear up here with the Ghoul. He's going to just take that. And again, obviously, Control Warrior mirror matches. The start is just all about trying to tempt your opponent into maybe forcing them to play a card they don't want to, that matters 15 turns from now when it's not in their hand anymore. Maybe you can tempt out a Brawl, maybe something like this that possibly allows your Cthulhu to come down, or the other way around, maybe you get to waste a Brawl that can't get rid of N'Zoth.
Yeah. Yeah, getting the Justicar down now is nice, I think. It's the easiest, safest turn it's going to happen, and earliest, most importantly. Especially when your opponent doesn't have Justicar active. Cthulhu's Chosen looks like the potential option from Ek0p. Just taking it slow though, winding back.
Yeah, these players have been here quite a long time now, so they've got to just double check everything they do. It's been a long day for some of these guys.
I mean, it was the first thing Firebat said on his interview.
Right, yeah.
A tournament like this, priority is the ability to actually play games of Hearthstone and make the correct decisions.
Yeah, it was a really
For 10
interesting
hours,
thing to say.
yeah,
Like, it's so true. If you're just playing decks with slightly fewer decisions, you may not be able to outplay people you feel you should be able to, but when it comes to the end of the day, you're not going to make tragic accidents either.
Yeah. Okay, so again, this matchup's going to be a slow one. It'll ramp up very quickly and suddenly, then I believe a victor will be determined. Even if that goes to fatigue, it's normally obvious at that point who actually is going to win. You can do the maths on it and work that out pretty quickly. So this game will end very suddenly, but it's just like Ek0p's position here. He actually now has Brand, Doomcaller, and the coin. He doesn't need to hit Emperor with this hand.
Yeah, if he can get some damage through here, he does need to hit Justicar at some point, just so that Crane doesn't have it all his own way, because this push will not win the game as the push. It may win the game because Crane ends up using more cards than he wants to, but he's not going to kill him now.
Yeah, the only way this works out for Ek0p is if he literally goes into a turn 10 Cthulhu, into a turn 11 Brandcoin Doomcaller, into Cthulhu. Something that fast, which is obviously very unlikely. Twin Emps are fantastic at just punching your opponent in the face, though.
Yeah,
they're really awkward to deal with.
I just wonder if you'd rather that the Panda wasn't on the board right now, so you can just have the 2/4/6s without the Brawl.
Yeah,
risking
but
this
could
happening.
he play the Cthulhu, the Twin Emps, if the Panda wasn't on the board?
No, exactly. It's just rather it would have died.
Yeah.
But he also couldn't put enough pressure on against two damage versus tank up thing. How did this work out for him?
Oh, Ek0p cannot believe it. That Disciple of Cthulhu is one sturdy dude. Twin Amps going down though, and Cthulhu, just called Ek0p Cthulhu. And Ek0p just giving like a nod there and saying, you know what, let's just calm down. You know, he was upset obviously about the brawl, but it's like, right, hang on.
But how often do you actually win this matchup by beating them down with your minions on turn 8? Not many times.
It definitely helps.
It can happen.
And right after you, oh my god, he's going to do it. Wow, I said the way Ek0p finishes this game quickly is to just Cthulhu, coin, Bran, Doomcaller, because the benefit of that is, well, if Cthulhu's not dead after turn that it's played, you probably won anyway if Cthulhu gets to punch him.
Right.
And then if it is dead, you just get 2 more Cthulhu's in your deck. It's kind of crazy.
The other thing that might happen here, there's probably about a 1 in 20 chance, is he might draw Emperor off the top of his deck. And then he can just go
it even easier,
Bran Cthulhu in the same turn.
That's
it's even more fun.
That's true.
Depending where you're sat. Depending on your idea.
Doomcaller's still better, right? It's more net damage.
It is in the end, but you can actually just win the game.
Yeah, depending on the health to actually just lethal them,
Okay, so Crane just resignedly really just developing a board for now. And see what Ek0p gets. Okay, it's decision time. He really didn't want to see, obviously, that Kern. It's like the hardest thing for Cthulhu to get through apart from Sylvanas. And it's not obvious how to play this turn at all.
So many choices.
Okay.
I think because he has this available to him, I think you just go.
Yeah, and he's going to
like it.
You. Okay.
Okay, so pushes for not 14 to face, of course, but 14 total damage this turn. Ken is dead, Bane is alive, and yeah, I mean, we can see there's not a good way to deal with Cthulhu in terms of stealing it and stopping the Bran Doomcaller.
Right.
So it's very swiftly going to be removal from the Cthulhu, I believe, for Crane.
Yeah, and that's not a loss for Ek0p.
Probably just taking that one shield block to see if he goes into Sylvanas.
I assume so. Because you could take 1 hit for 12 damage once. So if
not even that, he could just shield slam.
No, if he drew the Sylvanas. Oh, actually, you could just...
Yeah, he has 7 mana. He has shield slam available.
So I thought he had 5
Yeah,
mana
you just trade.
armor.
You just trade the Bane in, and then guarantee a steal. So that shield block definitely worth a go, but I am pretty sure you don't want to take 12 this turn.
And this sets up a certain inevitability with the one proviso that Ek0p at this moment does not have Brawl in his hand.
Yeah.
So there's just that one glimmer for Crane. He won't mess around with N'Zoth. When this Doomcaller hits, he will actually just go for it. And he's actually going to leave Cthulhu up for 1 more turn, I feel, because he knows that if he kills it, it's pretty much game over in half an hour's time.
Yeah, and there's Emperor, which is going to more than likely seal the deal.
Yeah, a wealth of options now, really. I mean, obviously, hitting people in the face is pretty good right now. Just a case of whether he wants to deal with this Bane.
That's really interesting. Like, can he just not play Emperor? If he just hits face for 14, what does Crane do next turn that he won't do this turn, right?
So one thing that playing the Emperor does do is it makes it harder to steal Cthulhu if Crane does draw the out. Ek0p knows he's digging.
That's true.
I don't think it makes that much difference, to be honest, but it's a thing that...
Yeah, no, it's definitely something to consider.
And he's actually, that's see what he's doing. He's going for the Acolyte as well.
If you lose the Cthulhu, you probably actually still lose the game as Ek0p here, so... And he doesn't have the armor to be able to self-shield slam, which sometimes you're forced to do.
And he knows the game that's being played here because Crane just went face and generally even killed the 2-1, so he knows what's happening. And he's just deciding whether to put another minion on the board or whether... This is the same thing as putting another minion on the board, basically.
Yeah.
It takes away Crane's options. Okay, so Sylvanas or no?
And it is going to be no.
It's no.
There isn't enough to shield slam anyway. I mean, this has to just be execute trade at this point, right?
It
cannot
is,
just
but
keep
you know
taking
you
12.
lose the game. Yeah, taking 12 when you've got 20 doesn't get you there very quickly, but yeah, he's getting rid of it.
I think the problem is, okay, say there's the perfect turn follow-up from Ek0p.
Yep.
Well, the 2 Cthulhu's might be the bottom 2 cards of his deck, You know, it's not like you now just lose. It's worst case scenario for Crane, of course, with the instant follow-up of Bran into Doomcaller. But you still have to draw those Cthuns. They do not appear in your hand, because that would be truly too powerful.
Right. Well, the Crane has a habit of bad things happening to him.
And this, again, guys, is an elimination match. The loser is out, and the winner holds on for dear life to continue playing on tomorrow.
And in fairness, I mean, we've seen the player line 4-2. Normally, the pros think, I can win 3 in a row. But the sheer weight of numbers of good players on 3, 4, 5 wins at the moment is just ridiculous. These guys have got it to do if they win this game.
I think Ek0p or Crane could win 3 in a row. But guess what? When they play against each other, one of them's going to lose.
Sure.
You know, that's just the way it works, right?
Yeah, they'll both be thinking, I can just get through this one game, then tomorrow is a fresh start in the morning.
Yeah, get some sleep.
Yeah, it's just
get prepped.
Simple chance. But Crane is not drawing into any way to deal with stuff. And he's got to tidy all of this up before he drops his N'Zoth.
Can Shield slam the Doomcaller? And Forge Portal could really help him out here.
Take a walk on the wild side.
Is that Wild Caller? Is that the name of that
Wild
card?
Waker? No, Wild Walker, you're right.
Wild Walker.
No, you're right, it's Wild Walker. It's Flame Waker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
Okay. Why not?
So...
You actually just coin out the Chosen at this point, you do,
I think you do.
Yeah, I mean, the coin for the brand isn't obviously needed anymore. What else are you going to coin out? Get the minion that actually threatens 4/4, and if it doesn't trade into the 4/4, then, well, you have a Divine Shield 4/2. That's Sylvanas. Too late to the party, though.
This is why you don't usually win the game, even with the Cthulhu push, because Crane's up to 30 again already, despite the fact he's taken quite a lot of damage in this game. That Justicar coming down on curve has made such a mess of things. And again, if Ek0p can just draw a brawl, especially with this hand where he's going to draw another card off the Acolyte at some point, he's going to be fine. If he doesn't, it might get interesting. Crane is on a mini clock. He knows that obviously when one of the 2 Cthuns does turn up, he's in a world of hurt.
Yeah, especially once Sylvanas is gone. Pretty much need to play N'Zoth in there and hope at this point. Need Sylvanas to die, N'Zoth to play, and then to just make something magical happen, to be honest.
Something magical.
Okay, shield blocks. Cycle is actually good now for Ek0p.
Yeah.
He definitely wants to cycle.
Yeah, this isn't a fatigue game. This is a game where you're digging for your 2 things that just win you the game.
No way he can steal Crane's Sylvanas. That would have been game ending.
Right, that would have
Truly
been
game
absolutely
ending.
ridiculous. Can he work out a way where he doesn't give much away by killing everything, leaving his Shield Bearer on as a 6/1, and then doing Acolyte revenge stuff? I think he ends up with 1 extra health that he doesn't.
Sylvanas might steal the Cthulhu's Chosen, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. Obviously, it'll be a 4/2 because he'll proc the shield. It's kind of messy because he'd just 1 more damage, everything would be working out really nice for him.
I mean, can he just ignore?
Yeah,
I think doing this trailer.
He's going this way, which makes sense, but 50-50 of it being really good for him.
Oh, nice.
And now he just draws some cards, clear the board, keep a 4/1. And then the N'Zoth's going to be...
Oh, that's a Cthulhu. 18-18. Seems good.
Seems fair. N'Zoth's going to be pretty unfair as well, but not unfair enough, I don't think. Maybe?
Well, the Sylvanas is a problem.
Yeah, it really is.
Brawl needs to happen. Oh my lord.
Now,
perfect.
everything I was about to say a moment ago is definitely a thing.
Yeah. Brawl. So, this is something that happened as well. Reynard also was in a great position.
Right.
Out of the second N'Zoth turn, Brawl hit, and Sylvanas lived.
Oh.
So then there was just no Cthulhu whatsoever because, Sylvanas steals it no matter what. So Sylvanas really needs to die if this Brawl is played. If Sylvanas is the living minion, then there are some big problems here for Ek0p.
Just pointing out there that Ek0p did decide to weigh the small chance of the Brawl going wrong, like having the extra Acolyte versus a card there, that's what was taking so long. Values the card, which is fine, your opponent's on 1 card. Your cards cancel out their cards roughly, so the more cards you have, the more
you have 2 more Cthuns.
Yeah.
Okay. Sylvanas needs to die for Ek0p to be in a pretty much winning position. Sylvanas is dead. Just going to be the N'Zoth survive. The Death Rattles obviously come back to play, but now with 1 Cthulhu at 18-18, a second one chilling in the deck somewhere, this is looking very, very rough for Crane.
Yeah, he's going to push through. So 17 damage next turn, gets rid of the armor. Cthulhu is only 18/18, so one or two things will probably survive. But seriously, that's
beast.
not great.
That beast.
Good ordering there, getting the heal.
Into Brawl.
Okay.
Not really going to help Crane in this
Not
position.
the card he's looking for right now. But here comes a chunk of damage, and basically, as long as Cthulhu doesn't go nuts and like hit things badly here, he should clear up most of this board.
Well, he has a War Axe as well, right? So.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one gone. There's
gone great, actually.
Okay. Not terrible. I think more importantly, how does Crane kill a Cthulhu?
Right, it's good enough. He probably has to brawl his own board away.
Yeah.
And then there's another Cthulhu ready to just jump out.
Yeah, Ek0p's like, cool. Deal with the third one.
I mean, he may be able to. He's only used one execute, I think. So
Okay.
it's still things that could go wrong here for Ek0p.
Okay, if the
He's probably
Cthulhu wins,
deeper into fatigue. Yes.
get him. There we go. Small nod. Buy my beard.
I don't want to buy your beard.
Ek0p does have a beard as well.
I know.
so
I
that
don't want to
makes
buy his
sense.
beard either.
And yeah, I pretty sure Crane is going to sit for a minute and think, can I win? And I think the answer is no.
He can draw. If he could even draw a card, then he'd have a chance of shield slamming
Yeah.
to execute for both of
Because
the Cthulhus.
next turn, Shield Slam is no longer an
Because
option.
then shield slam vanishes, right?
Let the pain speak to me.
Yeah.
That 1/3 is going to challenge the 18/18, of course,
Or hit your opponent 20 times while they forget to armor up.
and forget to attack with their own Cthulhu.
just checking.
Yeah.
He feels that both players drawing a card favors him. I'm not so sure. And he's not so sure either. He's changed his mind.
Small Clive. Cthulhu go face for 18.
When you have
So
the
many
bigger hand, of
choices.
course, drawing a card doesn't favor you as much as it favors your opponent because you're okay and your opponent is not. So
Yeah.
I have no time for games.
your opponent will definitely want that one card, whereas you might not need it. And yeah, he's just decided to not do that. Have your one card, Crane. Good luck with it.
Bloodtaker. Doesn't mean he can double cycle the Acolyte here. He can draw 2 additional cards, which is really going to help him dig down into his deck. Slam going to help him draw another if he really wants.
Sure, just keep drawing cards.
Slam into execute into
Into
I
your
don't
opponent
know.
having Cthulhu on the bottom, into armoring up a load before it comes out,
Yeah.
and then
Grom is not the card. Crane's like, look at Crane
He's
even
almost
laughing. He's like,
giggling about
I'll get there.
fuck.
There's an I choose dead.
yeah.
And the game of game 1, sorry, goes to Ek0p. And it's one of those weird matchups. It's very favored for Cthulhu,
Yeah.
but it's a game that is always going to go late.
And there was a moment there where it did look like it might
Yeah,
just
exactly.
turn. If Ek0p hadn't picked up the brawl in the nick of time, things could have gone against him there.
Yeah, it's definitely not a done deal, and the nature of the decks means the game's going to go long. So I imagine the series as a whole may speed up a little bit from there now.
Although it's now Druid versus Cthulhu Warrior.
Ah, that's fine.
And Druid has
I-
a pretty good looking hand here. Cthulhu Warrior obviously puts a bit more pressure on the regular Warriors, so the Druid does have to go a little bit quicker than it likes, but with this hand it likes to go like this. It's just going to be absolutely fine. It likes to go like this. There's quality casting for you, Raven.
Yeah. I expect nothing less from you, Lorna. You've been trained by the best, of course. Crane, I'm not 100% sure which Druid he plays, because there's like standard
Yeah.
Mali and then Yasharaj Malygos. So, you know, we'll see, we'll discover together. But more importantly, look at Ek0p's opening hand. It's like one half of it looks great, the other half looks like it's shown up to the party way too early.
Way too early and overdressed. So Ek0p did keep the Acolyte of Pain there. This is so that he can rifle through his deck quicker to find the solutions to the not many questions that Druid actually has. The thing is, it asks those questions really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, especially, you know, you can see Innovate coin, my keeper to help ramp. Crane can actually start piling on a little bit of pressure. We even see now the living roots to simply annoy the warrior. It's its key
annoy
job.
the warrior.
Yeah. But it never really does much, do they? Let's be honest, against like a control warrior deck.
Yeah, the only times that normally they do something is in that new build of N'Zoth, where there aren't sometimes Ravaging Ghouls. Then they sometimes get through for a bit more.
True.
But in this matchup, I think they're not going to get through for much at all.
Yeah, predominantly just annoying though.
But they also do stop your opponent from trying to beat you down back. And because he had the backup plan, he has managed to put 5 attack on the board. And like you say, they're just annoying.
Let the pain speak to me.
So Crane's going to have to kill that just to prevent the card draw. Obviously, if the card draw gets out of control for the warrior, that's how the warrior has a chance. Building a board now, and there is no brawl. And Ek0p's going to have to challenge this with minions. That's going to help a bit. For the next couple of turns, Crane might be able to start building something pretty spectacular. Next turn he can Keeper, and that'll put him into the Ancient of War, into Ragnaros in order.
Yeah, but even this Cthulhu's Chosen, it's going to be very easily dealt with the Moonfire. You just trade a 1/1 in, clear with Moonfire, and this is actually just a good amount of damage. Now he can just Wrath.
I think he Keepers though because he wants to get this Ancient down in case there's a brawl. So if there's a brawl, he follows it up with the Ancient, and then if that gets removed, then he follows that up with Ragnaros.
Seems like a reasonable plan.
Threats. They are quick threats.
Yeah. Either way, there's a very simple clear here for Crane, and this might be the beginning of the Crane taking a real stranglehold on this game. Oh, he just trades in, saves the Moonfire. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that gives him his second plan. So if you keep the warrior at a low enough health total, then when you get the Malygos plan to finish it off, you're also...
It just seems weird to me that you use the Living Roots as tokens on turn 1.
Right.
But then you save the Moonfire and throw away a 3/2 that could do 6 damage if it attacks twice, which is the equivalent of a Moonfire, right?
Sure.
It's definitely an interesting
It also plays around Brawl a little bit, just by tidying up your board.
That's true.
If your opponent's going to kill it with Brawl anyway, you might as well do something with it. And if he hasn't got Brawl, you don't care because you're in this position where you're just going to just keep poking him for 7 or 8 in a turn. And here we go. This is interesting because if he has got Brawl now, one of your things will live. And then you just get to play Ragnaros. And this is looking really, really bleak for Ek0p right now.
Sylvanas is going to help though. Not a great target to give Sylvanas. When are people running Silence again, Lorinda? That's my question. Sylvanas is always a pain in the ass. It's like, when do you not you just run Silence? I think that could help deal with a lot of it, to be honest.
So do you take the 50-50 lethal, 50-50 whoops here?
Always.
Good.
Yeah, if you have 50-50 lethal, they are odds I will take every single day of the week.
What about the 100% lethal? Do you prefer that?
Oh, well, see. This is what I get for trusting you, Lorinda.
Yes, got him.
No, that was not on purpose. Don't try and sell this to Twitch chat and be like, this was all a test. No, it wasn't at all. Just because you said it was 50-50 lethal, I was like, I'm not going to bother looking. Lorinda knows, and I will never trust you again, Lorinda. You have lost
trust
my
me in the first place.
You had a small token of trust, and that was it. But now you've got none. So you've got to work really hard to get it back.
Okay, I'll work really hard.
Yeah, but Crane's worked really hard. And,
Crane's worked really hard.
Even at 1/1.
Yeah.
Now the control warriors are gone. And we can get to good old-fashioned, fast Hearthstone.
You say that.
Yeah.
But every time someone
Zoo,
says
right?
something
Zoo
like that...
versus Druid coming up next. Ek0p Zoo is probably...
Wow, called... Like you're psychic or something.
Yes, I am.
Okay, Zoo's just really good against Druid.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, last series we saw Reynard pick Druid into Zoo.
Right.
As opposed to his control warrior, his Enderzoth warrior.
How did he go?
He lost. But, to be fair,
Right, but he set up
had
better matchups for later?
Reynard had some tech cards in his Enderzoth warrior that made the Zoo matchup worse for the warrior.
Sure.
So there is logic. And he thinks his Druid is actually performs pretty well versus that, but we have seen Zoo do some miraculous things.
I mean, I think this is a strongly favoured match for the Zoo, but I have heard like top pros like Zalay say that they think it's more like 55% for the Zoo.
No,
but personally, I think it's higher than that.
Anyone who says that, like, okay, you always be the Druid, I'll always be the Zoo. Then that's the approach I would take. But
he admits it's favoured, but he lowered the percentage a bit more than most people would.
I think 60 is fair. To start, if you're going to be conservative, I think 60 is fair. But also, Druid can do just Druid things a lot of the time, and maybe that skews people's opinions. That's like, I managed to ramp, and they didn't draw a 1-drop. Then yes, suddenly the game changes.
And the point was made in that cast by Purple, I believe, that when you lose as the Druid, you just lose. It just happens in your day.
Oh, yeah.
But when you win with the Druid, it still feels like you nearly lost.
Oh, all the time.
So, people's perception, it is nearer 50-50 than we think.
There's very rare occurrence where Druid stomps Zoo.
Right, so...
Especially since Keep of the Grove was nerfed. if you used to innovate Ek0p at the Grove and kill a Flame Imp
Sure.
versus Zoo, I've had people concede that turn against me back in the day.
Wow.
Because, well, you play a 2-4, kill the 3-2,
Oh, sure.
and then you just trade forever. So I've had people concede, but that has long gone out the window. Now we're in good old standard. And, speaking of good old things,
Yeah, I'm just
double Councilman.
I think he's just taking his time to make sure there's no accident waiting with swipe here and spell damage, but that's the only accident. Blood Mage into swipe would be the terrifying thing, but he's just pedaling back through the turns to see if it's there or not.
And I think as well that with any cards that get like additional buffs when things are played, Arcane Giants, Councilman, so on,
right,
you should just take your time to think about exactly how that interaction works. And yes, it's 1 minion plus 1 mass. We should all be able to do at this point in our lives. But in general, I think it's fair to just take your time, especially again this late in the day. We're on the back end of the day, the final round for today. We'll be finishing up the Swiss tomorrow, so I'd like Ek0p taking his time. Me and Life Coach were casting a lot of Zoo games last series. Malkazar's Imp is a boss.
what's it like when you got 3? No, the bosses cost 3.
No,
What's it like when you got
Malkazar's Imp.
3 Imp going?
We found out. There you go. We found out because Radu had 3 multiple times and just drew his deck. He nearly went to fatigue.
Alright,
Yeah,
seems good.
it was very good. Wasn't quite good enough to win the series as Reynard did win, of course, but it was good.
Ek0p positioning here, considering the merits of both Direwolf and also, of course, the Defender of Argus.
Malcolm the Imp hits the board though.
Malcolm the Imp.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable name, Malcolm.
What are the other 2 called? Malcolm as well.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like in something I can't name where a lot of the characters are cousins and they're the same character.
Like Malcolm, Malcolm, and myself.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Anyway, back to the
Yeah.
Hearthstone game that's taking place, as certain caster would say. Or
double fat. I mean, Crane in this matchup, the way this hand is going, is swiftly going to be hitting the point where it's like, yep, gonna have to play Yogg. And
Yeah.
Yogg does stuff.
It's a sad sight to see the likes of Crane playing Yogg. I think nobody dislikes Yogg more than Crane, but Crane is a realist. He knows that if it's a card that needs playing, he's going to play it. And
Yeah, and even like off camera, where you can't see it, we've got complexity members watching the game and watching over us. So I feel like there's some pressuring tactics going on.
yeah, I think they're muscling in on this Yogg. They're all ready to make the Yogg like do its thing. They're all praising Yogg. We can actually see them behind the cameras.
They are on their knees praying to
Goyen, Fantasy, they're all at it.
Yeah. And they're ready. They're ready for this big Yogg. But Crane's somehow actually holding off for now. The Azure Drake is actually a really nice pickup. Means he can open up more options to him going forward.
And just play more spells for this Yogg, because it needs to be a Yogg that we haven't seen
There's a
for
chance
some time.
next turn we're going to see Hero Power Innovate Yogg. It can happen.
So, this 50-50 lethal. Anyway, no, it's not lethal.
I'll never trust you again, Larinder, I told you. If you say there's lethal on the board, I'm counting that.
Cool.
Oh, nice. This is really good. I just like going on to the gang boss here.
Yes.
The problem with the gang boss and the trade, though, is that you fill the board, and then in a crazy world, Crane could choose not to attack, and then you can't play Doomguard.
Right.
But that is a truly crazy world.
I think maybe
If you don't attack, you hit for like what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You hit for 12 a turn. He's only on
I think
22.
you kill the 4/4 here because you only lose to either Swipe or Yogg, and both those things clear your board a little bit. So,
Yeah,
getting rid of two
I
of your
meant
smaller
the
minions.
Demon Fire on
Sure.
the gang boss, but then you fill the board, right?
Yeah, and he's actually going to go with that play. And
Well, what world... look, if Crane doesn't destroy any minions...
sure.
Well, he's taking 12 every turn, which is 2-turn lethal anyway, so good job. You know,
This now opens up the Yogg to be a little bit. It's got more options.
tiny
Like
bit better, yeah.
Blizzard and cards like that are now in play, and as is spell damage into Swipe. So
ooh.
just a
mean,
little bit.
I think it's more likely Yogg does work than Crane as your Drake's exactly into Swipe.
It depends. He's got one left, right? We've seen one, I believe.
I think. Oh no,
Not
we've not seen
totally
any,
different.
right? Even so, I think Yogg
Okay.
needs to do some work here, and it is going to be Hero Power
What's
Yogg.
he going to do?
Let's go. Bad. I'm just going to rate cards. The worst option. Pass, don't know what it is. Pass, don't know what it is. Doom! Holy cheese!
Is that a good card?
That's reasonable. He draws approximately 1,000 cards and clears the board almost. There is a 1/1, but he does have hero power. Ek0p checking the admins to see if this is legal, and unfortunately for him it is. And Crane. Is Crane hiding a lap? Oh my god.
Given that Crane is like
Crane had to
dislikes it the most in the
Crane
whole world.
literally had to cover his face there. Look at his face, he can't control it.
There's still work to be done here for Crane though. He may well be able to do it, but it depends what these secrets are, of course.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so it's not explosive, it's not freezing. It could well be cat trick, it could be dart trap, it could be snake trap. And also the mage spell is not entity, not vaporize, not barrier. Could be spellbender, could be ice block, could be effigy. And I think I just named all the potential secrets.
I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah, I think I was actually kind of impressed myself there, even if I just missed a couple.
So Crane now needs to make sure it's the old meme, but get these cards cast and you will win the game. But can he make sure he gets them all cast before he dies? He should be able to. Get rid of that Doom Guard, get rid of that 3/3, and try and find a way to heal sooner rather than later.
Unfortunately, he couldn't quite squeeze Malygos in this turn, because then he just wins.
Right.
Double swipe, though, is fantastic, and playing a giant, and this could be a big turnaround for Crane here.
And this is what we're saying about it may be closer to 50-50 than people think. This feels like Crane lost this game of Hearthstone. Your subconscious processes this as you have lost.
Lorinda, please.
No, I didn't mean
I thought you were like, this is why this matchup is considered more 50-50. Because of Yogg, I was like, Lorinda, you might not be back
just
tomorrow after this.
All of the ways that you lose this game as Zoom, they're all kind of messy.
Yeah, okay. Dig yourself out of that hole, Lorinda. Enjoy.
Hey. Okay, so Ek0p has now found a way to get a little bit more damage through.
But there's still
but he's
still so far for Ek0p, right?
Soon.
No, he's just dead, right? Oh no, he's not got the living roots. Did he use living roots last turn?
So this is
of course.
50-50 lethal, 50-50. My opponent has a 1/1, which and can't. He can.
What I like to call checkmate in the Hearthstone, to be honest, Lorinda. I heard it's a phrase that is used in some other games. But yeah, either the rag hits and sets up the lethal, or the rag hits the minion and sets up the lethal next turn. You know, like there's pretty interesting with the options. And Crane,
a sheepish-looking Crane,
still kind of laughing, which is kind of interesting to me, as I would like to now reverse time and see that be the worst Yogg in the world,
and see Crane boys have just gone missing.
Yeah, no,
they
pulled the Yogg lever.
Chickens and stuff a minute ago. Now they're just not even available for comment anymore.
And now Crane is 2-1 up with this Druid, and Druid we've seen pull out some bans with some certain strategies in this tournament, but in general it's deemed a very powerful deck. And let's be honest, Crane got away with that one. Like he lost that game pretty hard. Yogg did dig him out, but just as much, Yogg could have just killed itself in the first spell.
Yeah, and we've seen that many times.
Oh, a lot of times actually. Yeah.
But it is at its strongest against a full board like that, because obviously it's less likely to kill itself unless it does it like it did with a Doom or with.
If you're gonna go out with a Doom.
Anyway. And so looking for ramp here, because the hand is okay, but it'd be so much better if you just found an innovate right now.
Yeah, it really would. The Druid Mirror is always awkward. The Raven Idol this early, I think, is one of the highest skill picks in the whole.
It's so difficult
because you're like, look at these cards, they're all great, but they're great depending on what happens in the rest of the game. So, you know, Crane going for swipe, which I feel is the most averagely great. You know what I mean? It's consistently good card. Because swipe's very easy to get off most of the time. Moonglade can be difficult. He already has a Nourish, so does he need a second one in hand on turn 2? No. So yeah, swipe's the most consistent, but there are definitely arguments to be made for the other two as well.
Yeah, I actually thought he might just take the Moonglade or something.
For like an additional minion on anything, right?
The whole thing was really, really close. But he goes with a swipe, which means he's going to have a lot of control with this spell damage in particular. And obviously later on he has long game options. The nourish, the double nourish was also an option. So he's obviously looking at getting the ladder drakes established on the board and trying to get good work done with them.
Yeah, no, Ek0p being able to nourish there, looking really good as you said. And Crane going for the crazy hero power pass turn, which doesn't feel good when your opponent's playing the druid as well, of course, did just nourish. And you are feeling very far behind, but you know what's also nice? An additional spare swipe you got from Raven Idol.
Yeah, and I think Crane might now know there's either a Living Roots or an Innovate in Ek0p's hand. He took quite a while there. Players do mess around with their timing now to stop reads from happening, but the decision there was if I Living Roots, obviously it walks straight into swipe, but it does lower the cost of this giant, and getting these giants down is so key in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of druids playing mulch at the moment, so if you get the giants down quick, on it, especially if they're on an empty board, then like, what does the druid do? Play Rag and hope. And we've seen that a few times, actually, you know, Rag used to try and snipe an arcane giant.
Okay, so that's the use of that swipe that Crane picked up, because it's like a bonus swipe. He can afford to, I'm going to use the word waste, but it's not wasted, that's the whole point. But he can afford to, he doesn't need to save it for later for anything more important.
He's got like, he's playing with 3 of in that deck, which means you can use the extra one, you know, more loosely, is probably the phrase I would use.
Ek0p, I think, might well go for the 2/2 here, because he's got Rag next turn anyway. And then it's turn 9 after that, where
and his spells reduced down, right?
Yeah, I don't see any need to ramp this late now, and a 2/2 does add just that little extra to the board that is hard to deal with.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, yeah, you ramp to Arcane Giant, or you could just play spells and ramp to it quicker.
Right, and he is going to actually go into the Arcane Giant.
Oh, okay.
Because then he can play Rag into Arcane Giant without having to play the Living Roots to lower the cost.
True. I just feel like whenever you play, so me and Life Coach talked about this earlier, whenever you play an Arcane Giant for 7+ mana, roughly, that Arcane Giant has to do some work.
Sure.
Whereas if you play an Arcane Giant for 0 to like 3 mana, suddenly if it just pulls out removal, you're pretty okay with life.
But an Arcane Giant coming down the turn after a Ragnaros has got a chance of doing some work. It may not.
Oh, now he just uses Living Roots to trade, right? I think so.
Probably, yeah. I don't think you want to risk Ragnaros missing.
Well, you just don't want to leave the Ek0p to trade into the Rag, right? Because that's kind of horrible. You can ride off the back of this Rag for quite a lot, unless your opponent has a very specific response. Crane does have swipe into Wrath. If he really wants, he can Azure Drake, double Wrath, so he's got a lot of options, even though he's on limited mana.
Yeah, that's the difference that Ek0p's slow but sure mana gains getting him now. Every turn, he can just do more powerful things.
To be fair, though, Crane getting Emperor off is kind of like a couple of turns of Innovate. You know what I mean? Like, because this is a turn Crane shouldn't have been allowed to do. As your Drake Wrath to kill the Ragnaros. So, although Ek0p's ahead on health, the Emperor ticks really helped him out, and will continue to help him out for probably one more turn while he uses the Azure Drake swipe at some point. Yogg-Saron being on 9 doesn't really change too much, but the swipe and the Drake are a very important combination of cards.
And these double giants being on 9, no point playing them into the Drake. You want to get them both down, and now Ek0p's going to probably try and get them down to 5 mana before playing them. If he draws a spell next turn that's handy, we might see him get them down to 5, so he can play double giant on turn, well, 2 turns from now.
Azure Drake down again, though. He's just saying the same thing. Here's Azure Drake. Deal with it. If you can't deal with it, there are problems. And Crane's got the follow-up of Rag and the Yogg. And if last time Yogg was anything to go by, I would be scared to death if I was Ek0p.
Right, yeah. So it may just be that Crane is getting control of this anyway. But he's just going to tidy stuff up, get those giants reduced in cost right now. And Raven Idol for a spell that's going to help with the process of getting these reduced, and going to have the Innovate. So Nourish is an option to refill this hand.
I think it's completely reasonable to refill the hand here with the Nourish. It seems like the better pick. Well, doesn't have to do it this turn. But it's a great pick because he's planning on getting those Arcane Giants out.
Yeah, this has been so awkward for him the last few turns. He's actually now just going to go ahead and say, I'm playing the Giant. He's playing the Giant knowing that you know, this is now going to be a bit awkward. He's not going to expect another swipe. That was picked up earlier from the Raven Idol by Crane. And Crane is now just wondering whether he needs to trade into this. He doesn't. He's going to play Ragnaros. 50-50 is absolutely fine for him. See what he hits. If he hits the Giant, it's going to be really hard for Ek0p.
Oh, and he got it as well.
Ek0p nods knowingly, having just witnessed the yog that was happening. And
And you know, it's something me and Falcon were actually talking about. We were casting Ek0p in the tournament in Spain last weekend, and Ek0p is. This sounds really weird, but he's at his best when he is ahead and feeling great.
Yes.
But when things start to go against him, he definitely you know, the head goes down, right?
Yep.
And then you worry that, well, if he's feeling like that, then is he playing his best, and does it affect him going forward? So, you know, you definitely see a notable difference in his not persona, but his sort of, you know, how he looks on camera there, and you know, his posture and everything compared to Crane, who's a little bit more focused after his near giggling fit from the earlier game.
Although that sometimes can cause you to lose focus as well. Having a stroke of luck like that, you're still thinking, oh my god, that was funny, and suddenly you start playing a little bit too energetically. But I think Ek0p sorted a lot of that out after he won at Insomnia. I think winning that major gave him the confidence where he's not desperate to win every single time now. He wants to win every single time. He's a very fierce competitor. But he also knows at the back of his mind, I've been there, I've done it, guys. I don't have to prove myself.
And this turn,
yeah.
you just left a Rag and a 3-3 on the board. And yeah, you drew cards, but those cards needed to be like, I don't know, you know, 0 mana, well, Moonfires that do 10 every time, you know what I mean? Like, that's to the extent that that card draw was needed to be like so impactful, because Ek0p's just given up, what, 11 damage this turn, at least. And he's only on 24. Okay,
looking pretty grim for Ek0p right now. He has got options to clear up.
I would just got Mark and Nature for +4 attack and go face. Jam it in face.
You're a hunter player, that's
yeah, but hey, look, your opponent's just may as well passed a turn. Kill him. Like,
yeah, I don't blame him at all. I think he's a great player. I just like to tell him you're a hunter player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that too. Malygos, there is no innovate for swipe in hand, which is key. Malygos into swipe is a stupidly powerful turn and would easily end the game. But to be honest, there's a very small chance that Ek0p even survives this. If his Giant was a bit cheaper, maybe he can get it cheap actually.
Yeah, he never really managed to complete that part of his mana curve that he spent the whole game trying to do. And I think he's actually looking at the only way out of this is Sylvanas and
hope.
And hope things go well.
But even then, like, so Rag hits Sylvanas, Sylvanas steals Rag, which it might not do. You know, there are multiple ifs in this outcome.
I think he can get down Sylvanas and the Giant. If he does enough ramping and stuff, I feel he can get down Sylvanas and the Giant and kill the 5/5, I think. Now, is some caster math thrown in, but I think he can get that down.
Yeah, he has it. Oh, has he got the time? Let's see. Let's see the APM from Ek0p here. I think he knows what he's doing. Did he get the Giant? Yeah, he got it all in. Okay. Race to the end there. So Ek0p's done as good as he can do here, but almost any form of additional burn puts so much pressure. Crane, a swift nod there, got his own Giant, 2 mana.
Oh, and he needs to decide now what he's going to do out this Sylvanas.
You swipe face and hit in face.
Sure, and you get 2 good results, because killing the 8/8 is a good result as well there, because then next turn you just nourish into lethal. And he's actually just trying to nourish into lethal
nourish
right
is fine
now.
Because he can still just swipe. There's Moonfire. He cannot.
Feral Rage as well.
Oh, hang on. How much damage is this? 4, 5.
He hasn't got the mana for it, basically, I don't think.
He can do 9, right? Because he can innovate out the swipe, do the Feral Rage and the Moonfire.
I'm trying to find the innovate.
Oh, I might.
One of us has cast too many Control Warrior.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's
very late, guys. I'm just making up cards in Crane's hand at this point. I'm sure he wished he had an innovate, but he doesn't. Guys, sap me. I deserve it.
I feel that he just swipes face here, honestly, now, and just there's good results.
You've got a 1 in 3 to just win the game and, you know, stay in this tournament.
Yep.
I would take 1 in 3. 1 in 3 is pretty good odds.
And there's plenty of other stuff in his favour as well. Let's see what happens.
Here we go. This could be the tournament. Swift nod. And it looks like Crane's taking off his headset. which means only one thing. Ek0p looks very upset. Rag to Face is going to end it, and Crane takes down Ek0p 3-1 and survives the tournament. Ek0p, upset in general, but obviously very sportsmanlike. Not upset with Crane, just upset at the result, which is completely understandable in that series. But Crane hanging on just about, and you know, his other teammates must be quite happy. We can see his manager Fantasy has been hanging around and keeping a close eye on the match, so he's going to be happy that Crane sticks into the tournament along with the other players as well.
Yeah, Fantasy lives like through his players. He is one of the most hands-on managers. If your players are doing well, he's really happy, and if they're doing badly, they're really sad. Much more than normal managers. He's just always involved in the action.
And also as well, I have teleported across to a different chair.
Yep.
I am the new Froden now. So yeah, it looks like we do have Crane ready. If he wants to come over and sit down, Crane, you can come and sit down, right? Oh no, maybe you can't.
I don't know.
Okay, well we're gonna interview Crane in a minute.
Never deal with amateurs, right?
I know. You know,
Oh, you deal with me. So.
wins around a Hearthstone and then just can't manage the interview. It looks like he is going to be sitting in the middle. He gets between the two Brits. It's perfect. Hey, congratulations, Crane, on the win.
Well, Yogs.
Thanks.
Wow.
This man's the interviewer today.
Instant BM. Yeah, so, you know, this series was actually an elimination match for you effectively. So, you know, you managed to beat Ek0p out and stay alive in the tournament as a few of your teammates still knocking around as well. That series, there was obviously the Yogg game, right? And we saw you even try and stifle a laugh, which was pretty funny to watch from our point. But other than the Yogg specifically, because yes, the Yogg won you that game, of course. How do you feel the series went overall? Were there any big things you weren't expecting from Ek0p, or did everything else go out to plan?
I guess I didn't expect him to lead with the warrior.
Okay.
Simply because I felt like he was gonna try to save it from my warrior. It was like Druid and Su are both pretty good lead decks in a way, so I kind of figured that let's try the warrior because his warrior is gonna molest mine. Like I know he plays. I didn't know 100%, but I had a really good read that he was playing Kitten Warrior.
Yeah, he recently played it the other weekend, right? So
yeah, and some other things. I mean, we know each other's like a lot of players in the scene know who people work with, and I know, you know, I've seen RDU on stream, and Ek0p tends to have a lot of similar decks to him. So I just I had a good read.
did your research, which is definitely helpful.
I just know.
Just have the general knowledge.
Yeah.
He just knows people that knows things.
So yeah, but other than that, it was pretty much what I expected. I mean, the Su leading into my Druid after I broke
it's the nature of Last Hero Standing, right? Where
You know,
it's going to be more than likely counterpick into counterpick into counterpick if possible.
I had the nuts with the Druid versus the Warrior, but I also, generally speaking, just don't lose that matchup. I mean, it can happen, but it's probably more favored with Druid than Su versus Druid. It is.
Yeah.
So
and,
yeah.
And how's your day been so far? Because obviously, as we mentioned, like that was an important match for you specifically. But how was the earlier rounds gone? Because obviously, it's not gone as well as you would like, no doubt. But you know, what were the highlights and the rough matchups you had, maybe?
I lost in the first round, and I kind of just. I mean, I lost 2 games to Su in the end when I was up 2-1, and it's kind of been the story. I've been up 2-1 a couple of times and lost to Su after that, but like both the times I've lost. And it's I don't know, it's just I've had really bad draws on my own Su in a lot of the first rounds, and then you end up with a 4-2 score. Even if you're up, I feel like I've been playing really well actually, but it's hard to just keep winning. I mean,
well, I think that's like, you know, you hit on a bit of a key point where there are things out of your control as a player, right?
Yes.
As long as you think, and you know, you get other people to look as well, and you're confident you played as well as you can play, then regardless of score, you're happy with your performance.
Yeah, yes and no, because there's also the whole deck selection type of thing. Like when I bring Su, Druid, and the Warrior, I mean, I'm also putting myself in a position where if I'm playing against other Sus and other Druids, it is gonna come down to the draw a lot of the time, and the Su mirror.
Their matches are so close that you can't really gain.
So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it for me if I think I'm better than the other players to actually find some weird strategy where I don't have to play mirror matches where maybe I can get myself an edge? I was looking for it, but I don't see it. I honestly just don't see it. Like,
okay. No,
I don't see it.
But you are through to tomorrow, so you've still got games to play.